Hey, kids cook real food. Katie Kimball here for the Healthy Parenting Connector. And we are talking about all the good stuff down in the gut today with Elissa Arnheim. She is the host of the annual Healthy Gut, Happy Child Summit, founder of the Healthy Gut, Happy Child 10-week transformation group coaching program, a certified fermentationist, a popular speaker. And we have so much to talk about. Thank you for being here today, Elissa.
Thank you so much for having me here, Katie. This is going to be really fun.
Yeah. So your superpower is helping moms reduce children's picky eating, poor behavior, and belly issues in 4 months or less. And I'm going to come back to that number because I'm really curious if there's like something magic about that or if it just sounds good. But tell us like a little bit of your background. How did you get interested in the gut and in kids and really have a heart for helping moms and kids?
Well, many years ago, I actually quit my job because I wanted to be a health coach. And I had a few different jobs. I was an ecologist doing field work and teaching out in the woods. And then I worked in a hospital for a little while. And then I decided I want to be a health coach. I want my baby to be super healthy. I know that eating vegetables is like the magic solution to health. And so I'm going to help moms raise their babies to be kids who love eating vegetables. And then about a year later, we found out that my little boy had cancer. It was, he's great now. He is like stronger, healthier, but just like doing so well. And at the time it was really terrifying. And it was not at all certain that he would make it through. And so that got me super focused on nutrition in a new way, because clearly it wasn't just eating vegetables. Like,
wow,
he had hardly eaten any sugar in his, first 2.5 years of life.
So he was 2.5.
Yeah, 2 years and 9 months actually.
Oh.
And like, his first birthday cake was like, what was it? It was pancakes with unsweetened yogurt as the frosting layers. And, I thought I was doing all these great things, but
yeah. So you knew your stuff, because my first child's first birthday cake was a white flour and blue frosting Cookie Monster. So we all start somewhere.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, right? Yes, there are a few things wrong with that, but if that's what everyone's feeding their 1-year-olds for their birthday, like that's what you do, right? And so somehow, because my mom was kind of a health nut, and like she was like terrifying my friends in high school by showing up with like chartreuse vegetable juices, like when they were at my house, like, here, I made some juice for you, and they were all like, right? So maybe I came from a slightly different background. But it turned out that just eating vegetables is not enough. Like, it's great to eat vegetables, and we need our bodies to be in a place where they can make like the gold out of the vegetables, digest them and pull out the nutrients. And our bodies need to be in, kind of a calm state so that our digestion can even work, and so that our body can do its normal things. This understanding of the difference between being in our fight or flight or our stress mode and our relaxed, rest and digest mode is definitely getting more attention now. And it's all part of the package. So it was when my little boy got super sick all of a sudden. Well, it wasn't all of a sudden, it was just all of a sudden we found out about it.
Yeah.
That then I started rethinking and digging a whole lot deeper into what actually creates health, especially in growing children.
So I admit I'm a little in fight or flight right now, just because I know in my brain that health is not graded on a bell curve. However, it's still really easy and very much a part of my life to be like, but we're eating the vegetables. We're doing so much better than so many other people out there. Right. And so like emotionally, I sort of rest on that, and you just sort of dismantled that. And so I'm just going to, if any mamas out there are thinking, she just told me that what I tell myself to feel good about my kids is not enough. We're just going to breathe together and try to get into rest and digest. And I trust that we're on a journey here. I trust that you're going to take us good places. So I'm just kind of going to follow along, because I know that you work on on picky eating a lot. So now we're talking
Mhm.
about the kids who don't eat the vegetables and the moms who are even more in fight and flight. But
Yes.
what's the cause and effect relationship? What's the chicken and the egg potentials, I guess, between the gut and the picky eating?
I love that question. And just to assuage everyone's fears, eating vegetables is a critical part of a whole healthy picture. So if you think about, like, if you're prioritizing learning how to get veggies into your kids, like, don't feel like it doesn't count. It does count. It's a huge part of it. And we get to make it count even more. So yes, thank you.
Good news.
So very, very, very good news. It just turns out there are more pieces that we can fit together than I knew about. And so that's really what I was addressing. And different people have different parts that are more important than other parts. So chicken, egg, picky eating, gut health, how does it all fit together? So I like to go back to the idea that our bodies are designed perfectly. Like, they're designed to grow, to thrive, to heal, to be strong in our immune system, to fight what needs to be fought, to get sick when we need to get sick, to build up our immune system and learn and exercise that system. All of our systems work really well together. And so when a kid doesn't want to eat vegetables or proteins or a big category of food that is nourishing and important, has really important parts for our growth and development, then that tells me, okay, something in the system is a little off. Maybe there's like a little piece that's broken. Maybe there's, maybe a part of it is tired. So let's dig in and find out what's going on. Because our kids want to grow and thrive and be healthy and wake up well rested and be coordinated and not be afraid to poop because it hurts and not feel nauseated when they eat, and all these things. So they're just little clues, and they're all fixable. They're all figure outable. They're all reversible. It's just a matter of whether we, as the parents, are in a place where we have the bandwidth to devote a little energy to whatever it is that seems like it's a little off. And there is no right answer here. Sometimes it's a good time. Other times it's not a good time. And so that brings me to a whole other world of health, which is, and how does that impact how we can do the things that we want to do for our kids? That's a lot of talking.
So you're okay. So I'm trying to like I feel like I'm trying to put something on a line, and maybe it's not a line, maybe it's a circle. So when there's something a little off in the gut that can cause a child to omit maybe a whole food category, a whole food group, a whole bunch of things. And then is it also kind of the reverse if we're like continue to omit foods? Now we're not building our gut well. Is it a circle?
That is a really great question. Yeah, I've never thought about it this way. And yeah, it absolutely can go in the other direction. If we're missing certain nutrients, like if we're not getting enough zinc into our system, then our sense of taste and our sense of smell starts to fade. That's the source of a lot of picky eating. Then things start tasting bad to us. Textures start being bothersome, not just in our mouth, but like on our bodies, bright lights, bright noises. We start to get really sensitive, and it affects our digestion. Zinc is a big part of how our digestion starts, in our mouth, in our stomach. And so if we're not bringing in that nutrient, then this beginning part of our digestion isn't functioning quite right. And this, our gut really is like from our mouth all the way out our butt. Mm-hmm. And so when I say gut, I'm talking about the whole system. Okay. And so then if that part is broken down, then we stop wanting to eat other things that then start degrading the rest of the system. We're not getting the nutrients to make our bright and happy neurotransmitters. It's harder to calm down when we don't get certain minerals. And so it kind of has a chain reaction effect, affecting all of our systems.
So how can parents start to be detectives then? Like you said, everything's figure outable, everything's fixable. That's good. Are there first steps that everyone takes, or is it more of a if this, then that kind of thing?
Well, first observe what's going on. That's always the first step. Just noticing and not placing any judgment anywhere. Just like letting it be, noticing, getting the information. Parents are not doing anything wrong. They might have some funny information, or there might be a lot of pressures that are leading them in a direction that maybe they don't really want to go, but it's hard to find another way. So no judgment here. And then I really, I see picky eating falling into picky eating that's related to gut issues tend to fall into a few different categories in my experience. Okay. And so then if I can connect some of these categories, we can start addressing them. Like, is a child super obsessed with sugar and carbs and soft foods to the exclusion of other things? And there are all sorts of common like traits, like, like their behavior and like they can wait a very, 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 very long time without eating, which is really alarming. And so then we get to address that, and it's, and I want to point out that these behaviors are not, they're not the children designed like trying to push our buttons or be manipulative. It's their kids just, they want certain things and there are ways to get what they want, like in a very internal sort of a way. It's not like they're plotting and planning.
Yeah.
If their system, which could be all the microbes in their belly, like they could have tons and tons of sugar eaters in there that are all talking to the brain, like, hey guys, we really want more sugar. No, we don't want the vegetables. Like, don't eat that, because if you wait long enough, the sugar always shows up on your plate.
Oh, snap.
That's like inside, like no kid is thinking that. No kid is consciously like, okay, if I just wait out my mom, like she's going to feed me the junk, right? But the mom is like, oh my gosh, my child is going to starve to death. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to eat hot dogs and buns like that. You need to eat more than pancakes. But it's been like 2 days. Fine. You have to eat something. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. So it can get tricky.
And there's it's a lot of fear and stress. And so those are two big clues, the carb addicts, which a lot of parents are going, yep, my kid, those who can wait a really long time, that there's gut imbalance.
Yeah. So I like to call those the sugar monsters. Not that children are monsters, but it's kind of this like craziness.
But maybe the bugs in their belly are the sugar monsters, right? And
so it's the bugs in their belly, but also it's their neurotransmitters. It's their brain, because, when we eat these sugary things or carby things and any kind of processed food, because they're designed in a lab to have people like, I love this and I want more every day. And so it's actually training our brain when we get these big dopamine hits. It's like lights up our whole brain with like pleasure and satisfaction and contentment. Well, then when we get these powerful surges from these chemical foods and like lots of sugar, our body is like, oh, wow, we've, put all these dopamine receptors out here, but we don't need all of them. Let's just prune these. Just like get rid of all of these because we only need a few of them because these hits are so powerful. So then what that does is then when you bite into like a juicy sweet carrot, which in balance can taste really sweet when it's, fresh sweet carrot from the farm down the road or whatever. it's not having that much of an impression. It's not hitting us with as much pleasure because we don't have as many of these dopamine receptors sending that message. So,
wow.
So it's not like overnight you can just like switch everything up and everything goes back to normal. You know, like our taste buds change over days and weeks. Our brain changes over weeks, and it changes, but we also have to be cognizant that it's a process.
Yeah. You know, I've read a lot about sugar and I have never heard it described in that way, that the brain actually prunes unnecessary dopamine receptors because the sugar is so strong. It's sending so much dopamine, you need to receive it less. And I mean, so I think a lot of us think about it as, oh, my tongue, right? We think about it as a tongue thing. My taste buds are just trained. They just like sweet things. And so the carrot isn't as much, but you're saying it's not the taste buds, it's the brain chemistry.
It's all of them.
Obviously, that's a training of a sort. So how do we untrain or retrain? Like, where's the input? Is it the tongue? Is it the gut? Is it the brain? Help.
All of it. So there are a few things that we can do. One of the first things I love starting people with, because it's like the secret background, like changing everything underneath, is introducing fermented vegetables. And that may seem like a super crazy leap for anyone to make. And it works really, really well. So you have a couple of options. You can do it sneaky like, or you can do it just like straight up, here we go. If you're going to be straight up, here we go, totally transparent about it, you'll just go to the store. You can make your own. It's super simple, but it's really easy to go to the store, find some raw fermented sauerkraut or raw fermented pickles. In the refrigerator section, they have live organisms, live friendly bacteria in them. So they need to be refrigerated, not on the shelf, not packed in vinegar. And bring it home, put it on the dinner table. And for 2 weeks, every night, everyone eats a little bit. So this is the trick. It has to go in your mouth. It can be a teeny tiny little bit. Parents must participate for this to work, because kids are always like, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. System of unfairness, for sure.
Totally. You got to do the modeling. But the trick is the kids can spit it out if they don't want to chew and swallow. It's fine. It has to go in the mouth and then come out. And so this is, and do it for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, usually by 2 weeks, most kids are going to chew and swallow the sauerkraut. It seems like a stretch. Try it out. Let me know. Get back to me. And what's going on is the microbes in the sauerkraut they're giving the sauerkraut that sour flavor. So there are multiple levels of recognition. Our brain recognizes, oh, this is that good stuff for us. This is going to help us. Our bellies are recognizing, oh yeah, those are those organisms that help digest our food, break down nutrients, support our immune system, repair our gut lining. They're really good microbes. They do all of these great things inside our bellies, and our brain recognizes that. And it's about what it is, but it's also about that sour flavor. And we're programmed to like want a little bit of it. Have you ever had that thing where you like just really want something lemony, or like some cider vinegar, or like a sour kind of a dressing?
You know, it's funny because my whole family, like, we love mustard. All my kids, like, they love their ketchup too, but like, we love mustard. They love dill pickles, but they're not real. They're from a jar. And I've always thought in my head, like, doggone it. Like, it's like we have the right idea. Yeah. Right. That kind of vinegary taste, but it's not working because, okay, I have a story for you.
Tell me.
In our, we did a snack summer camp in summer 2021, and a guest chef made fermented carrots with us. And I was like, this is so great. My kids are cutting the carrots, they're packing them, we're fermenting them. There's other kids around the world on live with us, and we're planning to try them all together in 3 days. And I'm so excited because I'm like, okay, like, for sure, my kids are going to think these are amazing. And then nobody liked them. And how it's 6 months, 5 months, they're still in the fridge. I'm hoping you'll tell me they're still okay.
Oh, they're good.
Like the carrot in the mouth instead of the sauerkraut every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Same really organisms. Can like turn over.
2 weeks really changes everything. So this is when I hear people like, oh my gosh, sometimes it only takes 1 week, and the 2 and the 4-year-old are just, they're just helping themselves, eating the whole thing. Older kids, it takes a little longer usually because there's like the behavioral resistance. There's like, mom is invested in this, and you're fantastic. I love how you teach about picky eating because you do such a good job with these things.
We talk about keeping a poker face. I wish that was easy and natural for me in the real life, the zoo of the Kimball house. But if someone were to come and observe the natural environment of Katie with the kids, it's not always perfect.
No.
I will say, after we spoke a few weeks ago in the picky eating challenge, which is coming up again in February, which is awesome. I put sauerkraut juice in the ketchup. I did it.
Yes.
Nobody noticed. Yes. I could not believe it. So I'm trying.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to have to bust out the fermented carrots in just 2 weeks. Cause I did, again, after we spoke, I was like, I made every kid put a little piece of sauerkraut on their plate. I didn't make them taste it because I've got one who's very averse to putting things in the mouth, but for those who would, and my little boys even joked to like, oh mom, we threw our sauerkraut away, but they actually ate it, but they hated it. If I make it a choice, everybody says no thanks. So so it's work to be done.
Yeah. So this is where we get to explore kind of like venture. A lot of what I have learned about parenting actually started in the leadership trainings I've done for business.
Okay.
And so I just decided, you know what, for this thing, at different places in my life, and fermented vegetables have been part of our life for so long that my child is like a kind of a connoisseur. He's like, oh mom, fine, I'll eat the cabbage, the red cabbage kraut, but I really like the other one better. Right. So I'm in this great fortunate position, but with other things, sometimes I just have to be like, actually, this is the way it's going to be every night. We're getting back on track with this, bud. Right. Okay. And it's uncomfortable because it feels different to be like, I'm not wiggling on this. I'm not having we're not having a conversation about it. For this item, I am the ruling monarchy here and you are doing it, and we're all going to be friendly and happy about it. And it'll be fine. And if you don't like it, that's okay. I can work with you and it's still going to happen. But that's a whole different conversation. But I love that you chose to do the sneaky method because the upfront method didn't work. So let's just get those microbes in their bellies, in the ketchup. They don't know about it. You've stirred in some of the raw dill pickle brine or the fermented cabbage brine, fermented sauerkraut brine, just stirred it in there when they're not looking. They have no idea, but they're still getting the benefits of having these great bacteria, lots of lactobacillus added to their system. And it's actually shifting the balance of the microbes in their bellies. So
now, obviously I should have added it to the mustard, as I'm telling you that we all eat mustard daily, but not ketchup. Duh. So I blindly followed your instruction tonight.
I love it.
Tonight after midnight, I'll add it to the mustard, but
after midnight. Okay.
I'm going to make up a number here. I'm going to guess that the probiotics industry is somewhere around $50 gajillion industry right now.
Probably.
But it's capsules. It's capsules. It's not food.
Pills.
And I was thinking about that as you were talking about the sensory sort of integration, I guess, of a person and their sauerkraut. Does the probiotics do any of the same thing in the gut, or are we just breaking too many of the other sensory cues?
I love this question. So food and eating it's so tactile. It's tactile. It's flavorful. There's our taste, what we see, the colors, the crunch, the smell, the faces of the people around us, knowing that someone actually cut up this cabbage and stuck it in salt and checked on it for 4 weeks, right, and then packed it in the jar, right? We actually, our favorite, when I don't make sauerkraut, our favorite company is Firefly Kitchens. And we're good friends with Julie, who makes this kraut, who started this company. And so we think of Julie all the time when we eat her kraut. It's all part of it. And so I love this question. Are we breaking like some of the important parts of this food process. And so my answer is yes and no. There are so many different microbes that used to occur naturally in our systems that over, just a couple generations of lots of antibiotics, over, the Industrial Revolution, where our food has changed. We used to be eating so many
too.
Oh my gosh, the minerals are gone from our soil. Our soil is different. There are lots of pesticides killing bugs in our soil and on our plants. So those are also killing the bugs inside our belly. They don't magically disappear when we eat the food. And stress definitely changes the terrain in our bellies, changes our temperature, inflammation, all this stuff. So having really high quality probiotic pills, capsules from really careful providers can fill in some of those gaps. They can be a bridge when you're missing big parts of that ecosystem. However, just like farming, we can think, oh, if we just had more corn, we'd be able to feed a lot more people. So let's plant like a few states full of corn and then we'll be good, right? But then we end up with a monoculture, and in nature, like things are all mixed up. And there are different ages of things, different species. Like there's windstorms, and then new things grow. There are floods, and it's always changing. And what I'm saying is it's always very diverse. Yeah. Nature is diverse. That's where resilience comes from. Always, always, always. Resilience comes from diversity inside our bellies and outside our bodies. And so we get to be wary. Okay, are we using this probiotic as like a little bridge to like give us a boost to where things will start working together a little better? Or are we creating a monoculture inside ourselves? And what can we do to kind of change the terrain inside our bellies so it kind of does it on its own? Like, can we add more variety of vegetable fibers to feed a bigger variety of microbes in our belly? And how do we start doing that when we have a picky eater? So my answer is, let's get some of these fermented microbes, these fermenting microbes in, which will expand the friendlier populations of microbes and make it easier for more friends to move in.
That is so profound and easy. So yes, so probiotics are
tiny steps.
They're a bridge, but if it's a bridge to nowhere, who needs to get on it, right? So it has to be a bridge to a goal of more diversity in our vegetables and our fermented foods. That's so good. So we want to talk about taste buds too. So we've talked a little bit about like the whole like sweet addict, and it turns out it's not the taste buds, it's actually the brain. Mm-hmm. Some people say that kids are naturally more attracted to sweet things from birth in their taste buds. Is that true? Yeah. Is that a myth? What do we do?
I don't know the science about that. What I do know is that everybody seems to gravitate towards sweet at some level. Some people are more salty people. Sweet is super attractive. And historically, like in our brains, I do know that we are programmed when something's sweet, like eat a lot of it, because sweet equals carbs equals energy. And what if we don't have enough energy to get through a thin season? Because like really in nature, like we have this like, we have like in the spring, things start growing, lots of leaves, lots of detox time. We maybe didn't have a lot of food over the winter, and now is a good time to just reset everything. So we get to feed those sleeping microbes that have been like waiting out the winter, start feeding them vegetable matter and leaves and, the classic detoxifying herbs, they come out in the spring. So, okay, this seems like a good natural system. And then we start having the summer with the fruits and like the strawberries, and then the blueberries and like stone fruits, and then the apples, and then the sweet squashes. And this is at least in the Northern Hemisphere, temperate Northern Hemisphere. And then we get into this place where where there isn't a lot of plant food available. Maybe there's some, the hardier herbs and, roots and tubers, the squashes start, fading away. But people can still hunt meat, or maybe they've been hunting in previous seasons and they've prepared that meat to last through the winter. And these are times when we, traditionally have moved in, especially in the rainy Northwest. It's a time of lots of sleeping, lots of storytelling, lots of being with each other. And then it starts over again in the spring. And even in, along the equator and other climates, there are seasons of plenty and seasons of scarcity. And we want to make it through, every year. And so we're programmed to hoard and eat the sweet things. It gets really confusing these days when not only have these sweet fruits, they can be shipped all over the world all season long, but they're also they're humongous and they're way sweeter than they've ever been because they've been bred to be more delightful for us, right? To taste sweeter and be bigger. And so it can throw us off.
We've got all the processed foods competing for
space
on the shelves, space in our fridge, space on our plates.
And they're so easy,
inordinately sweet.
Oh my gosh, so sweet, so carby. So our natural rhythms are kind of thrown off. And yeah, of course we want these sweet things. We're programmed to. And then it becomes a whole different question. Okay, so how do we limit these things without seeming like the ogre parents, right? Oh, those are the mean parents that don't let their kids eat, and then the kids are like, oh, well, I'm going to go to their house because they have soda, which is what I did when I was little, right? My mom had her juices and I was like, I'm going to go down the street.
You know what? My husband and I, we about probably once a month, once every 2 months, we have the conversation again. Are we too strict? Are we going to cause the rubber band effect that I call it, is that we're too strict and then they just want it all? And it was probably just 2 nights ago. He was saying, I look at my childhood and my mom did a lot right. I think it was on accident. I don't think she was intentional. Love you, Mom, but she knows the truth. And he said, but I still wish, a big part of me wishes I would have had more restrictions around food, because he was definitely, I ate all the sugar he wanted. He had pop and Kool-Aid and whatever, and drank even more pop when he got to college because it's there all the time in the dorm in the caf. And and he now in his 40s is looking back going, man, if I had a different foundation, my health right now, or some of the chronic health issues that we've reversed might have been different. And so that's kind of where I ended our conversation the other night, as I was like, well, even if they do rubber band out into eating all the sugar all the time, I'm like, at least they have 16 years ish or 18 years, of the good foundations, and that their cells are more robust and healthy going in. But it is a struggle. It's a huge struggle. So how do you help kids, or how do you tell parents to help kids shift their taste buds, I guess, so that they're not quite so drawn to the sweet, and then we don't have to be the ogres as badly, right?
Right. Well, I love the conversation you just described to me, because it's real. It's very real. And we have sometimes I tell my son about how on Sundays, basically we ate nothing but bagels and donuts for all day, right? Right, exactly. It was so good. We did have capers and some smoked salmon mixed in there with the cream cheese. Maybe that's what helped us survive. Anyway, so when our kids are small, we have so much control, and it's really the other parents we have to deal with, whether within our own family, family, different generations, spouses, or the neighborhood friends, we need to manage how we feel and operate within that criticism and, hey, that's not normal. And, but we have so much control.
Or them creating the normal. I know I saw a question recently from one of my picky eating members saying, well, I have a 4-year, well, actually she didn't start there. She said, I'm struggling with how often should my kids eat at other kids' houses, because they play together and then they always have Doritos or something. Then she shared that the child was only 4. And I was like, I have thoughts, right? Like you said, at 4, you gotta have that control, but it is so hard, because now you have to say to the other parent, I'm a big ogre. You can't feed my
Mhm.
child. I know
Mhm.
there's nicer ways to say it, but it feels
Yeah.
awkward, especially.
Right.
So yeah, like the
Yeah.
struggle is real for sure.
Mhm.
Do we
Mhm.
teach a 4-year-old to say no thank you to Doritos without messing up
I
their
don't think
psyche for
so.
life?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's putting way too much on the little kids. Like they're not capable of that kind of self-control because I mean, it's like, we're still developing self-control into our early 20s, like in
Or
our
40s,
brains,
right?
neurologically, into 40s
I'm
too.
still
Yeah.
working on it.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I actually, my son, who is 9 right now, we have 2 households and very different things happen in our different households. And, he has a prior medical condition, a significant one and sugar and carb consumption definitely changes his labs, which we track very closely. And he's in charge, like I'm not there. So he was like, well, maybe I'll just say we don't have as much of this. And I was like, okay, you can do that. And I want you to know that it's unreasonable to expect an adult to say, well, I'll only have the half of the bag of chips, or I'll only have a little of the cookie. Like, because it's not about your willpower. It's about these deeper drives to eat the thing. It's biological. It's not reasonable to expect your brain to stop yourself. And then if you fail, you're going to feel really bad about yourself. And that's going to feel bad for all of us. And then you might think you're not good at this, and it might make you stressed. And the stress is going to screw up your belly. So how about we just, decide one or the other and just let it be. And if you're not ready to take these things out, then you don't. It's okay.
Wow.
So these are the kind of conversations I have. And everyone gets to do it differently, right? You get to figure out where is that sweet spot? Like, what is going to work right now in this moment? And I just have to go back and touch on how you were like, oh, at least I've got like 14, 16 years of a foundation before they go. And I believe deeply that that is the template that they will always come back to.
Mm.
When we every night make a big deal of the vegetables, or don't, but they're always there. When every night there's something fermented on the table, when every night we take a minute to just like smell the food, look at each other, like just be present, be grateful, enjoy the food, right? Like these are little things that are setting the normal. And so at some point, they're going to possibly feel like crappy or unhealthy, or they're not going to be performing on their sports team, or they'll be depressed, or, like, not because not your kids in particular or my kid in particular, just because everyone goes through these ups and downs. We have to experiment and feel the boundaries in order to choose what we want to feel, right? And so they're going to go back to, oh, I think I'm just going to eat what my mom used to feed us and see how that feels.
Yeah. Thank you for that vision and kind of that reassurance. And I also wanted to say, I think you just told me that my husband is right when he says, I can't do occasional soda. I have to cut it all out because it won't work. And he thinks it's just his personality, but I think I heard you say it's your biology. It's once you start, biology. You can't stop is real, and it's your biology. But if you don't have any, it's easier to not have any.
Yes, exactly. If it's in the house, it is, I think it is completely unreasonable to expect us not to break our promise to ourselves. Like, okay, I'll just keep that chocolate in there, but I'll only eat it for special occasions. Okay, well, I think it's a special occasion right now. Let's go. Right?
Okay, so not even just like the first bite, like trains you to want more, but just the presence of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because this is life or death. This is like, am I going to have enough fat on my body to get through the winter until the snow melts, until that first, whatever, like hunt or whatever, like
pre-industrial society.
This is pre-industrial. Like how many hundreds of thousands of years? I should know these like by heart, but we've been around for so long. I think it's like, not even if you looked at our existence as human beings on the face of a clock, it's like less than 30 seconds or less than that we've actually even been agrarian and farming our own food, right?
So we can turn over our taste buds in a few months. We can retrain our gut in a few weeks, but we can't change our biology that has been set for a really, really, really long time.
Yes. And so we need to build different systems around us, like different habits, different norms, really know well how it feels when we feel really good. And so that's, and it starts just a little step at a time. And when we feel better, I don't know, like when I feel a little bit better, then I have more energy to be like, oh, I think I'm going to try this other hard thing, whether it's food or, toxic stuff or toxic relationships or whatever situation, like doing one little thing that feels a little bit better always gives me energy to take the next step. So, we get to choose what our little steps are. And so surround ourselves with people like you, like me, like the people in our worlds that are aspiring to feeling better, to helping their kids feel awesome about eating vegetables, both, like want to eat them, but also like it has to feel good in their bodies, So the more community, the better.
And this inspiration is why you are a coach, and everyone needs to go to coachelissa.com, ELISSA, and tell me the name of the free download there.
It's Probiotic Ninja Moves, how to get your kids to fall in love with eating fermented vegetables.
Which is exactly what we all need. And of course, lots more in the works. So look around, see what else Coach Elissa is offering there. Healthy Gut, Happy Child on Facebook and Instagram. Now, I love to leave parents with a super practical step, because you sent me into fight or flight. You gave me hope. We talked about our children's future. We have been everywhere. What is one, like you just said, one step could snowball to the rest? What would be one that you would recommend parents do today?
Okay. I actually would recommend that parents do any one thing to help them get better sleep. Ooh. So I'm like going sideways here.
Yeah, thanks. Because new topic in the last 2 minutes. Just kidding. But it's all connected. It's all connected.
We need rest. So really my number one tip in the world of food is get Probiotic Ninja Moves and start introducing fermented vegetables in whatever form works for you. Like that will start changing the microbes in their bellies, in your bellies, improving all of your systems. And that will help. And like get more sleep.
How did you know that I'm planning on staying up too late tonight? Doggone it. But I will
takes one to know one, right?
Oh, well, this has been fantastic. I mean, we have traveled from the taste buds to the gut, into the soil, into the brain, and now into the bed. So I think we've done it all. And it was super helpful. I always learn something. I always come away from these interviews with like something that changes in our house for the good. Although sometimes my kids are like, really, did you do interviews today again, Mom? They can feel it. I'm like, guess what? They're like, no. Mm-hmm. So this is a good one. Those carrots are going to get eaten, doggone it.
Keep me posted. It is such a privilege to get to be here with you. I really respect and love what you're doing, Katie. Thank you for having me.
Same to you. We help each other. It takes a village for sure. Thank you so much. Elissa Arnheim, health coach at coachelissa.com. Healthy parenting connector listeners. Wow, I can't even talk anymore. I will see you back next week, where we will connect you with another expert who has the information you need to help you raise healthy, independent adults, because we've got those years and we got to make use of them, don't we? I'm Katie Kimball, and I'll see you next time.